When the Hype versus Adore corporate war first broke out, everyone thought NewJeans were just innocent victims. Five girls caught in the middle of a fight way bigger than them. But the deeper you look, the more you realize the group themselves started showing red flags that made me, specifically, question if they were really just bystanders. From suspicious social media activity to echoing Minhejin's words to staying silent while fan wars spiraled out of control, Eugene's own behavior during this whole drama raised serious red flags and questions about how much they were involved and whether their innocent image was really as pure as it seemed. So, in this video, we're breaking down every red flag Eugene showed during the Hype controversy. Little hints that expose where they stood, the moment that made the question and me give them a bombastic side eye, and how those choices may have permanently changed their reputation. So let's get into this because this isn't just about Hype versus Minhyun anymore. This is about how New Jeans themselves might have played a bigger role in ruining their own image than people want to admit. So, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Sunny present to you the red flags of New Jeans. From the start of NewJeans' career, Min Hye-jin has always been so obsessed with NewJeans. Ever since the Hype versus Adore war exploded, one thing became crystal clear: NewJeans don't just like Min Hye-jin, they practically worship her. And the way they show it, it has gone from loyal to downright creepy. Now, it is normal in K-pop for idols to show respect to their company CEOs, but they keep things professional, you know? They thank them in speeches, maybe they mention them in interviews, and I feel like that's enough before it gets weird. But with New Jeans and Min Hye-jin, oh, the dynamic feels different. It's not just CEO and artist, it's more like guru and disciples. In interviews, it felt like it was their mission to constantly shower praise to Min Hye-jin. I mean, instead of highlighting their own artistry and hard work, they frame everything as because of their CEO, Min Hye-jin. It creates the vibe that their identity as a group doesn't exist without her and her alone. The glazing is unreal, child. And even at award shows or in public appearances, the members often look at her like she is the star and not them. On the outside, it looks less like a healthy work relationship and more like devotion. Like whenever Minijin is criticized, fans notice Nugent subtly liking posts or dropping hints of support. It made it look like they weren't just artists under her, they were soldiers in her war against hype. Min Hye-jin isn't just a mentor, she's their boss. Worshipping her so openly makes it look like they've been conditioned to tie their worth to her approval. It overshadows their own identity because instead of being New Jeans, the group ends up feeling like Min Hye-jin and friends. The constant repetition of we owe everything to her feels less like gratitude and more like indoctrination, and that's hella creepy. Every time they open their mouth, I feel like they're just parroting whatever Min Hye-jin be saying on her iconic press conferences. Instead of focusing on their music, the conversation has shifted to their blind devotion to their mommy Min Hye-jin. And the more they put Min Hye-jin on a pedestal, the more they drag themselves down with her controversies. Because at the end of the day, respecting your CEO is one thing, but New Jeans' obsession with worshipping Min Hye-jin feels less like professionalism and more like a weird dependency. And if they don't stop with this bullshit, they risk being remembered not as one of K-pop's greatest groups to ever exist, but as idols who ruined their careers because they couldn't stop glazing their CEO's ass. First, I really thought New Jeans were really first into this mess because I thought, ain't no way they would ruin their careers just for one evil witch. But no, they proved me wrong, and for me, what really sealed it was the National Assembly. Picture this: the National Assembly, a place meant for lawmakers, officials, and serious national discussions. Yet somehow, in the middle of this war, we have New Jeans, an idol group, paraded in like courtroom mascots and bunnies. Let's be real, the whole thing turned into a mockery. Not only of the assembly, not of hype, but of the members themselves. Instead of going there with credible evidence and actually proving what they accused hype of, instead Hani went there looking like a pawn dragged on a chessboard she had no business standing on. The National Assembly turned into a K-pop fan sign event, cameras flashing, people gawking, and Hani sitting there like a prop. And then the bowing issue, or should I say the lack of it, instead of proving the evidence, we get a terrible acting performance from Hani, shredding crocodile tears and making such distasteful facial expressions at that new CEO. Because when it was time for her to speak, instead of her delivering groundbreaking truths, she was out here reading scripts, carefully crafted sob stories that scream, "We're the victims, protect us." But the tone wasn't convincing because it felt more like corporate theater. They weren't whistleblowers, they were stand ins for Minajin's PR team. And by letting themselves always be used like that, they stripped away the mystique idols are supposed to hold. And bunnies can act like they were making history, but they were puppets. And with all of that, what was the after? What did they walk away with? Not sympathy, not respect. They walked away with memes, criticism, and headlines not about their music, but mocking how a girl group became a centerpiece of a boardroom war. Instead of protecting their image, they let Minhijin weaponize it. They took such a minimal thing and blew it out so bad that it ruined their own careers and exposed how entitled they are. Because apparently, somehow, if someone doesn't greet NewJeans the way how they want to, you've committed a hate crime against them. Okay. Hani attended the National Assembly and made a spectacle of herself and showcased their entitlement on full display. And the next day, her and Minji had the audacity to laugh about it on live, talking about you did a good job. Like, girl, is this a performance to you? Do you really think this is Inkigayo or something? Shaking my head. They really thought they were writing history, but really they just became the punchline of a corporate war that was never theirs to fight. New Jeans literally walked into this mess acting like they were the first K-pop idols in history to face struggle. Suddenly they're crying harassment, mistreatment, and suffering. But where's the evidence? Nowhere. Just vague claims whispered like the gospel. While the rest of the industry is sitting there like, girl, really? This is what you call hardship? They pushed the narrative that they were being harassed. Harassed how? By corporate restructuring? By the possibility of a new management? That's not harassment, that's the freaking entertainment industry. Meanwhile, every other group in this industry has dealt with actual horror stories, slave contracts, starvation diets, collapsing on stage, getting blacklisted for years, and Nugent's out here without proof, without receipt, just vibes, whining about corporate politics while living in a five-star luxury is the definition of tone deaf. Let's not forget, NewJeans debuted under the best possible conditions. Instant luxury promotions, brand deals, instant attention. They were hailed as the leaders of a whole new generation from day one, showered with resources that many groups or even past legends could only dream of at debut. Yet here they are, acting like they had to claw their way up from the bottom. Out of touch isn't strong enough to describe this. I mean, nothing screamed out of touch more than parading into the National Assembly, reading pre written victim statements like they were freedom fighters. That wasn't bravery, that was embarrassing cosplay activism. Instead of gaining respect, they turned themselves into a spectacle, just showing how disconnected they are from the reality of idols who actually had to bleed for their careers. Do they not realize what idols before them went through? Generations of artists working with zero sleep, zero pay, collapsing on stage, enduring real harassment and blacklisting, fighting for years just to be seen, and here comes New Jeans acting like facing Hype's corporate attention is equivalent to a war trauma. It's very insulting actually, not just to the groups on their Hype who actually took the hit, but to the entire K-pop industry that clawed its way up from real exploitation. And the worst part, they complain about how badly they were treated, while their juniors like Elite were getting roasted daily, dragged by their fans by the way, into a mess they didn't start. Instead of empathy and actual maturity, NewJeans acted like the war revolved only around them. No acknowledgement of their peers' struggles, no humility, just self-centered monologues, while the rest of the Hype artists took collateral damage. NewJeans weren't victims of harassment. They were victims of their own entitlement, crying mistreatment with no evidence, flaunting struggles that barely register compared to what other idols had to face every day, and parading privilege as pain. This wasn't bravery. This was cosplay victimhood, and I wasn't buying it at all. Because New Jeans wanted to look like survivors of hardship, but all they did was expose how insulated, privileged, and out of touch they really are. They weren't the voice of victims, they were the poster children of entitlement. And it is proof that when you hand rookies the world on a platter, they forget what the real world even looks like. There seems to be this pattern I have noticed with new jeans. Not only that they love to act like they're the innocent rookies caught in the middle of a corporate war, they were victims at one point in time. But let's be real here. When it comes to Minhijin, evil doing against Hype and every group under that company, these girls suddenly develop the worst case of selective amnesia. Like memory gone, facts deleted, and accountability who? I mean, from day one, New Jeans treated Minhee Jin less like a CEO and more like a messiah. every award speech. Thank you, Minhyejin. Every interview. We exist because of Minhyejin. Every vibe. We breathe because Minhyejin gave us oxygen. Like, girl, chill. So, of course, when she went on her messy rampage against Hype, they acted blind and dumb. Suddenly, Minhyejin could do no wrong. Even if she was burning down Hype's house and dragging other rookie groups into the fire, they would act like they didn't see nothing. Let's not forget, Minhyejin didn't just go after Hype. She threw Elite under the bus, claiming they were NewJeans copycats. While Elite got harassed, bullied, and dragged to filth online, and NewJeans, yeah, crickets. No words of support, no, don't attack other groups, nothing. It was giving, oh, our juniors are being slaughtered by our own fans. Anyways, their selective amnesia activated. And where it always bothered me is when they're in court and being asked about Minhyejin, they always try their utmost best not to mention the slightest evil thing that she has done, that we all know she did. And then they always act like they're there because of Hi, bitch. You were there because Minhyejin got greedy. Like, let's be real here. Let's stop acting like we're not in the real world. It's funny how memory works when it threatens your perfect little bubble, huh? The worst part is that NewJeans leaned into the narrative of being these victims of the hype war a little bit too hard. Meanwhile, other hype groups like BTS, Seraphim were dragged, overshadowed, and disrespected by Minhyejin and bunnies. But NewJeans acted like they were the only ones suffering, like the trauma of being Minhyejin's golden children was so unique. Oh, the trauma. It was giving, yes, our CEO might be tearing down the whole company, but we're the real victims here. Okay? This selective amnesia doesn't just make NewJeans look clueless, it makes them look complicit. By ignoring Minhyejin's shady attacks, it tells on their own characters as people. As they protect their pedestal while other idols take the heat, cough cough, elite. By acting like their CEO is untouchable, they basically co-sign her behavior. And by staying silent, they trade accountability for entitlement. So yeah, NewJeans' selective amnesia is not just suspicious, it reeks of privilege. They remember every accolade, every brand deal they might have lost while still having thousands, every artistic vision credit. But when it comes to Minhyejin's evil doing against Hype and especially against the groups suffering under her chaos, suddenly they're all suffering from memory loss. Convenient, right? So yeah, NewJeans were in some way kind of victims in this war, but as time goes on, they became spoiled brats with a serious case of CEO worship, selective amnesia, and the highest of being the Lulu. You would think for people who are involved in this messy corporate war would, use their heads, like maybe, just maybe, linking up with people who say really bad things about, people who we're going up against isn't really a good decision. It can really hurt our image. And we've presented ourselves as the heroes and full of innocence, but no, 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 no. They chose to expose themselves because NewJeans love to play the role of the innocent victims, but then they're caught linking up with Tally Talkie, the online cheerleader who spend their days throwing shade at juniors like Elite and trashing fellow idols. That's just not bad optics, that's straight up career suicide wrapped in entitlement. Ever heard of the phrase guilty by association? Because in K pop, image is everything. Who you're seen with, who you align with, it all speaks louder than your stage statements. So when NewJeans is chilling with people known for mocking their juniors and dragging other groups, what does that say? It says they co-sign the hate. They may not type the tweets themselves, but by keeping these people close, they're basically giving their stamp of approval. It honestly shows their hypocrisy because NewJeans has been screaming about their supposed mistreatment, their harassment, their victimhood, yet they're fine hanging out with people who actively bully and belittle others in the same industry. That's hypocrisy on full display. You can cry about being disrespected at the National Assembly one day and then turn around and laugh alongside folks who make a sport out of disrespecting Elite and every other group not wearing the Minhyejin badge of approval. And this isn't just about bad vibes, it's dangerous because the fans see it. The industry sees it. Their junior sees it. Elite didn't ask to be dragged into this hype versus Minhyejin mess, yet NewJeans is indirectly fueling the fire by keeping toxic voices in their orbit. It sends the message that we're above everyone else and we don't care who gets stepped on. That's not sisterhood. That's not respect. That is arrogance. And what NewJeans don't realize now is that these associations will stain their name, not just tally talkies. When people remember this corporate war, they won't just recall Minhyejin delusions. They remember how NewJeans stood by while their peers got slandered. And once an idol group gets branded as petty, elitist, and divisive, that image sticks harder than any chart topping hit. So yeah, New Jeans hanging with Tali Talkie is more than bad company, it's self-sabotage. Instead of being the leaders of a new generation, they're looking like spoiled rookies cheering from the sidelines while their peers get torn down. And in K-pop, nothing kills a group faster than being seen as a privileged mean girl hiding behind someone else's venom. I think I've talked enough on the members self sabotaging now. So let's talk about the real villains here. Because if you ever wanted to see what happens when parents fail at protecting their kids, look no further than New Jeans. Because the truth is, these girls didn't just get failed by the industry, they got failed by the very people who were supposed to shield them, their effing parents. Any parent with sense would have looked at Minnie Jane dragging minors into this mess and said, absolutely the fuck not. Instead, Eugene's parents stood back and let their daughters become pawns, mouthpieces, and shields for an executive with an agenda. Rather than pulling them out of the fire, they let them burn for her ego. Parents are supposed to think long-term careers, reputations, and their mental health. Instead, they sat in the audience clapping while their daughters were paraded into the National Assembly like mascot for Minigen's war. Do you realize how humiliating that is? The entire country watching teenage girls read pre-written statements like they're politicians or something. That wasn't protection, that was exploitation with parental permission. And let's talk about the entitlement. The parent didn't just let it happen, they fed it. They let their kids believe they were victims of mistreatment while other idols literally faint on stage, live in debt, not getting paid for years of hard work, and face real industry harassment. Instead of grounding them with perspective and reality, they indulged the sob stories and made them look tone deaf and privileged in front of the entire industry. Eugenes might still be young, but the stain of this scandal won't fade. Their parents should have protected their image, their credibility, their mental health, and their future. Instead, they let them get weaponized, pit against their peers, and branded them as arrogant rookies. And the cool irony, when the dust settles, Minijin will move on. Hai will move on. But the only ones stuck with a ruined reputation are the girls. And that's on the parents who failed to step in. NewJeans' biggest downfall wasn't hype or managing or even the K-pop industry. It was your parents because when you let your kid become soldiers in someone else's war, don't be surprised when they come back carrying the scars. And that loves is why NewJeans featuring their parents are basically walking caution signs. From the corporate puppetry to the CEO worship to the tone deaf behavior, the red flags aren't even hidden. They're practically waving in 4K. And if you're still defending them like they're saints, then congratulations, you've officially joined the Church of Selective Amnesia and Delusion. Membership perks include ignoring scandals, being Delulu, rewriting history, and free front row seats to Minigen's ego parade. At this point, I low-key feel sorry for the stained bunnies who just want to enjoy the music because standing New Jeans feels less like supporting idols and more like signing up for a multi-level marketing scheme with glitter. So yeah, what I'm trying to say is protect your wallet, protect your dignity, and most importantly, protect your brain cells. So yeah, tell me what you guys think of this video. Do you guys want me to do a follow-up video specifically talking about how this affected Elite and others, which I would love to do. So yeah, like and subscribe and share this video if you like the channel. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, loves.